Hi, I'm Venus O'Hara. Welcome to day 8 of Vlogmas. If you're unfamiliar with my channel, I make content about holistic self-love. And as I'm doing Vlogmas, I'm going to look for a topic for today, and I thought I'm going to share with you how I learned Spanish in 3 months. You must excuse me, I've been in pajamas all day. This is what I've been wearing in bed lately. I've had the laziest day ever, and I thought, let's not fight how I'm feeling. I just thought I'm going to have a day of chill and stay in my bed and meditate. And so today is actually a bank holiday in Spain as well. It's interesting, there's a bank holiday on the 6th and the 8th of December. And in some years, if those days fall on, let's say, a Tuesday and a Thursday, some offices have the whole week off, and it's a long weekend or a bit of a long break. So one of the best things about living in Spain actually is all of the bank holidays, especially if you're working for a Spanish company. It's like, oh, another holiday. It's kind of cool. Anyway, I wanted to just speak about my experience in Spain. I haven't really spoken about that a lot on this channel, but obviously I'm a British person living in Spain, and I have a lot to share about my experience living abroad. But of course, today I'm going to focus on the language and, excuse me, and how I learned Spanish in just 3 months. And I would highly recommend learning a language to anyone, not just to people who live abroad, but in general, learning a language is a wonderful thing to do. If you travel for holiday, you'll have a much better experience if you know a few words here and there, and you can make some sentences and ask for things in shops, restaurants, etc. But also, it's very good for your brain. I cannot really give you any stats right now, but the bilingual brain, it's very good to have all of these things happening in your brain that I think it's like, for me, I see it as passive learning. So even in contexts that may not feel like you're doing much for your brain, like, let's say, if you're watching TV in your native language, your brain's pretty switched off depending on what the topic of the thing you're watching is. But if you're watching something in, let's say, a foreign language, and you're kind of like trying to concentrate on what that and understand, and it's just a different experience. Something like reality TV can become a whole great experience for your brain, a learning experience. So that's something I really do love about learning languages. But going back to how I learned languages, learned Spanish, and I would recommend these things for you if you are thinking about living abroad, and even if you are a traveller and you would like to spend some time in a country that doesn't have a great level of English, even if you go somewhere that does have a good level of English, I think it's always nice to have some consideration of the local culture, and you just, not just for consideration and respect, but also just to have a more authentic and integrated experience. So going back to when I arrived in Spain a very long time ago, I already spoke French. That really helped me a lot. And as it's the same kind of family of languages, I was able to kind of guess words from the French word, and sometimes it would work and sometimes it wouldn't. But in general, I already had that language learning muscle in my brain was already quite developed, let's say. But before having that, what's the most important thing is actually having curiosity to learn, because not everyone has the curiosity to learn language. And I think I know so many expats who come here and they just assume that one day they will learn in the future, one day in the future that never comes. And they don't really prioritize language learning because they don't feel that they need it for work, or they can kind of get by without it. But you're not really having a fully integrated experience if you don't speak the language. And I think for me, as soon as I arrived on day 1, I was learning Spanish from day 1. I was going into shops and already learning basic phrases like, how much is this? Can I have a bag, please? Things like that. Or in restaurants as well, learning how to ask for the bill, and just learning food and things like that. So I was very curious about learning vocabulary. So I bought vocabulary books. I had a notebook as well, and I was always writing words down. And even if I was on public transport and I would see words on adverts around me, and I saw a word was something that was recurring, I saw it in many places, I'd be like, oh, what does that mean? And then I would look it up and then write it down. And this is, a time before smartphones, so I wasn't able to just look something up on my phone. There was no Google Translate at this point. There There was just a dictionary. Yes, I have carrying a dictionary around with me. And yeah, just having that curiosity is just such a big thing, because the more you leave there's not going to be a moment where you just switch to the local language if you are living in a foreign country. Something that's a really great thing to do these days, which wasn't around when I was learning, are, apps like Duolingo. I mean, even if you don't live abroad, it's a great thing to do, just 10, 15 minutes a day. It's a great brain workout. And I was doing Duolingo in German until quite recently. And I was doing quite well on it, actually. I can't speak German, but just still having that exercise of learning new words for things that you, just learning new words is just a great thing to do. So learning vocabulary, curiosity. And the next thing I did was I did something really amazing, which is called intercambio, which is language exchange. So every day of the week when I first came to Spain, I would meet someone Monday through to Friday, and I would do a language exchange. That would mean, let's say, 1 hour in English, 1 hour in Spanish, and it was a different person every night of the week. So the Monday guy was like wanted to talk about current affairs and politics, whereas the Thursday guy wanted to talk about going out and partying. So I was able to get a whole range of vocabulary and learning to speak about different contexts thanks to these experiences. And, it's really hard work learning a language. Sometimes, your brain, it can be very tiring. Even, trying to process all day in a different language can really wear you out. And I remember I was never really into siestas, but I used to have some siestas. I was just like, oh my God, this is just so much work for my brain. But it was a really good experience as well. And something I really do love is television. I don't even have a TV at the moment, but having a TV and then watching trashy TV, reality TV, which if it's in your native language, you can't really, it wouldn't be considered to be a learning experience. But if you're doing it in a foreign language, it definitely is. And something that I did recently is I watched Love is Blind, the French version, and it was so good. And I'm interested in relationships and dating anyway. And doing it in French as well meant that it had a whole different purpose to it. It wasn't just about watching who gets married and who doesn't. It was more about just getting used to hearing the language and then recognizing different words and learning new words as well. Because I used to live in Paris many moons ago. Yeah, so I speak French, Spanish and Catalan, and so being in the country definitely is the best thing to do if you want to learn a language. But that's no guarantee, because as I mentioned, I just know so many expats who've made no effort at all. And it's really a real pity, because all these people, they cannot really have a full experience. And I've had friends in the past who haven't been able to make a simple phone call to, let's say, the phone company or electricity company because they don't speak the language, and I've had to do it for them. They've paid me for my lunch and stuff, but just to have to rely on a friend because you can't do day-to-day things can't be much fun, really. So I think it's just good to be able to, get yourself out of any situation you might be in at 2 a.m. when there's no English speaker around, or any time of the day for that matter. And also a great thing is to actually understand the nuance of the local culture, and make friends with local people as well. I think it's really a good thing to know the language, because I know a lot of people who come here who don't speak the language and they assume that the locals are very cold or they're difficult to meet. But of course, if you're not going to even make an effort to actually learn about their culture or their language, then of course there's going to be this kind of perceived gap or disconnection, I would say. Yeah, so those are the things I would recommend. Another thing that I've been quoted as recommending, even though it's not something I did, having a relationship with someone in a foreign language as well is a great thing to do for the language. It's not always for the relationship though, because you can have some major misunderstandings because you didn't know the right word for something. That's happened to me in the past. I was with a guy in Paris, and we were both speaking French, and it wasn't our native tongue at all. So we used to have some crazy misunderstandings, and we didn't have things like Google Translate on hand to help us out, So yeah, the language learning is a wonderful experience, and I would say it is really like, how watching let's say reality TV in a foreign language, it's like you don't realize you're learning, in the same way as dance doesn't feel like exercise because you're just in the moment and having a good time. And it's just such an enriching experience to learn a foreign language and to learn about a culture as well. So I'd highly recommend learning a foreign language, even if it's not just, even if you don't have any intentions of living in a foreign country, still for your holidays, just having some basic vocab for, let's say, all the things you would need as a tourist, like restaurants, shopping, getting around, etc. And of course, just for your brain as well. So language learning is a wonderful thing to do, and I highly, highly recommend it. And I just love, for me, it just feels like it's part of who I am right now. You know, Spanish is so, and I just love the jokes as well. I really understand the humour, and I really appreciate the humour. So when you're at that level where you can understand local humour, local culture, the songs, music, all of that, it's just so wonderful. And also another great thing that's helped me is that I love salsa. I dance salsa and bachata, so learning, you know, the songs and knowing what they mean, it's like, oh, that's so good. Yeah, I think I might have been Latina in a past life or something, but I really feel it in my blood. Yeah. So anyway, that's a great way to learn as well, is actually listening to music in a foreign language, and also watching films, things on Netflix or equivalent, with the subtitles in the original version always. And it's interesting because you know, at first when you watch TV in a foreign language, it just seems like people are speaking really quickly and you can't really understand what's going on. So the first thing to do would be to put subtitles on in your native language, and then when you start to have a bit more vocabulary, then put it into the actual language of the sound, so you're actually reading and hearing at the same time, because sometimes they speak so quickly that you're not going to pick up all of the words, but over time you definitely will, and it's just a great thing to do. Yeah, so that's my video for today. I'm so passionate about Spanish, actually. I feel like I can really express myself in Spanish. But another thing I wanted to just mention, when you are learning a language, it's also like tuning into a radio station where, you know, at first you're like, and you hear the odd word, but then as the signal gets better, you start to pick up most of the words, then all of the words. And when you're in, let's say, a group context and you're trying to follow a conversation, and then you're thinking, I'm gonna say something, and you're thinking in your head about trying to formulate the sentence, and then by the time you want to say it, the conversation's changed and they're onto a different topic. And that's something that's quite common when you are learning a language. And also something that happens, which is kind of frustrating and funny at the same time, is saying the wrong words. You know, certain words which can be, let's say, highly sexual. To say I am hot, in Spanish you don't say I am hot, that would mean I'm horny. You would say I have heat. So there's kind of different ways of saying things, and if you say things in the wrong way, they can be, you know, picked up as flirting, etc. There's a lot of those kind of cultural things that you would never know unless you're actually, you know, living in the country and dealing with natives. Yeah, that's my video for today. I just thought I would give you a quick video, and I've got some launches, as I mentioned. I've got some launches to announce soon. I was going to do it today, but I'm just having such a lazy day, and that's my work for today anyway. So if you're thinking about learning a language, I hope this inspires you. It's a wonderful thing to do for 2026. Thanks for watching, and check out the links in the description below. I've got a link to my book, Orgasmic Manifestation. I've got a link to my podcast, my meditations, and of course a link to actually work with me as well. Mwah! Thanks for being here, and see you tomorrow.